Welcome to the second episode in an ongoing Legendarium series called Halloween Stories. In this episode, we will try to answer a simple question. Why do witches ride brooms? The evil, green-skinned witch flying on her magic broomstick is a Halloween icon and a now boring stereotype. However, the actual history behind how witches came to be linked with such an everyday household object is anything but dull. It is not clear when the broom itself first cleaned floors. However, the act of sweeping goes back to ancient times, when people used bunches of thin sticks and reeds to sweep dust or ash from a fireplace or hearth. The word broom comes from the actual plant, or shrub, used to make early sweeping devices. This simple and ubiquitous household object became a powerful symbol of female domesticity. During pagan fertility rituals, farmers leaped and danced astride poles, pitchforks, and brooms to encourage their crops to grow. This is what passed for science in ancient times. However, in the 13th century, the church in France found itself at war with the Albigensians, a group of religious dissenters whom the authorities judged heretical. Among other things, the Albigensians allowed women to become priests, which shocked and scandalized the church. Catholics taunted Albigensians by drawing pictures of women riding brooms and sticks through the air to mock the idea of female priests. However, the first witch to confess to riding a broom was a man named Guillaume Edeline, a priest from Saint-Germain-en-Laye, a town near Paris. The authorities arrested him in 1453 and tried him for witchcraft after he criticized the church's warnings about witchery. How ironic. The authorities gently persuaded him to confess after a brief time in the torture chamber. Though he eventually repented, he remained a prisoner for the rest of his life. As Europe became more obsessed with witchcraft during the 16th and 17th centuries, people built upon broom-related beliefs. During the period when witch hunts surged in Europe, people's diets included large amounts of bread. At the time, people mainly made bread from rye, often infected with a disease called ergot, which people often mistook for part of the rye plant. When eaten, these old-school hallucinogens could cause much trouble, including nausea, vomiting, and skin irritation. However, ergot also has hallucinogenic properties, giving those who consumed it an LSD-like high. Unsurprisingly, many people enjoyed this effect and began experimenting with it, along with other plants which produced similar results. These included poisonous and hallucinogenic plants like belladonna, henbane, mandrake, and jimsonweed. Records from the 14th to the 17th centuries mention Europeans' affliction with dancing mania. This saw groups of people dancing through the streets, often speaking nonsense and foaming at the mouth as they did so, at least until they collapsed from exhaustion. Those who experienced the mania would later describe the outlandish visions that accompanied it. Unsurprisingly, more than a few of the survivors claim to have flown through the air. Likely based on these testimonies, witch hunters claimed that witches rubbed magical ointments and salves on their brooms and bodies that gave them the power to fly. A wealthy Irish widow named Alice Keeler went to jail simply for owning a greased staff and a pipe filled with ointment. That was enough for her neighbors to judge her a witch. To the witch hunters, almost always men, a witch riding a broom represented the highest corruption, a simple household device and symbol of female domesticity became a tool for female power that they judged unnatural. Beginning in the 17th century, accounts of witches using broomsticks to fly up and out of chimneys became more commonplace, even as women became more clearly linked with the household than ever before. According to one belief, women propped a broom outside a door or placed it up a chimney to let others know they left the house, and perhaps because of this, legend embraced the idea that witches left their houses through the chimney, even though very few accused witches actually confessed to doing so, even after a little friendly persuasion by the torturer. One exception proved to be Antoine Rose, the Witch of Savoy. According to court records, she confessed under torture that, according to the court, the devil, whose name was Robinette, was a dark man who spoke in a hoarse voice, kissing Robinette's foot in homage. She renounced God and the Christian faith. He put his mark upon her on the little finger of her left hand, and gave her a stick 18 inches long and a pot of ointment. She used to smear the ointment on the stick, put it between her legs, and say, "Go! In the name of the devil, go!" Hysteria about witchcraft had subsided by the 18th century. Today there are still plenty of self-identified witches in the United States, thanks to the growth of neo-pagan religious traditions like Wicca, yet few of them claim to be taking to the skies aboard their trusty brooms, although the image remains popular and potent thanks to films like The Wizard of Oz and Hocus Pocus. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.